Welcome back to the Scotch Podcast. My name is Seb Cox, and today we're doing Around the Grounds asking about influential women in students' lives. We've also got a Behind the Tartan with an old collegian who writes songs. And we'll finish off with a rule I live by. Let's get into it.
Hello, I'm Jake. I'm the Service and Community SAT, and today we'll be going around and asking people who the most influential woman in their life is for International Women's Day. Who's the most influential woman in your life?
Probably my sister. She's taught me a lot. She's really shown me how to be a good person and really helped.
What about you, Tom?
Probably my mum. She's just very helpful and kind to me. Helps me with schoolwork and stuff.
I think Amy Wallace, the last year's school captain, because she had a lot of great values and all her achievements taught me a lot.
I think Jessica Laycock, because she's always so kind to everyone that she interacts with, and she's been a great friend to me.
Probably my mum, because she's always there for me and drives me around everywhere and stuff.
I would also say my mum. She's my biggest support.
I would also say my mum, just because I can always talk to her about anything and she's great, yeah.
Perfect, thank you guys. On the theme of women, we just had the Pink Ribbon Breakfast last Sunday, which was an incredible event raising money and awareness around breast cancer and cancer in all its forms. And we were very lucky to hear from Scotch parent Alice Colgrave about her journey and the work that she's been doing since her diagnosis.
Today I have with me the Ducks of 2025. She likes the colour pink and she writes songs. So if you haven't already guessed it, today's guest is Charlotte Chung. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, so good to be here.
So our first question today is, if you had to sit a surprise test right now, what subject would you pray it wasn't?
Okay, so the first thing is I'm so bad with surprises. I feel especially for a test, I need to make sure I practice before. I need to know what's coming. And also, I'm someone who just hates maths. I feel I don't enjoy it. And I also have to prepare. So those two things together mean a math surprise test would absolutely be the worst for me. I don't know what I would do.
I think I have to agree with you on that one. It's
Yeah.
probably my worst nightmare. What's something that you didn't realise you'd miss about school until after you finished your exams?
I feel when I was going through school, honestly, one of the hardest things, one of the most annoying things at times was the routine. I feel doing the same thing every day, having to get up so early for 13 years, at times it was kind of frustrating. But I feel now that I'm out of school, also I guess because I'm on holidays, sometimes not having the routine and having to decide and think about what you're going to do at every single point, it can be kind of confusing. So at this point, I almost miss that routine and that familiarity. I feel it was comforting at times. But hopefully, when I get back to uni or when I start going to uni, I guess I'll find that routine again. But yeah, I do think it's a pretty good thing about school.
And what's one thing that you would remove from the curriculum had you got the chance?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. Well, this is technically not something you would remove, but something I have been thinking about lately is how much we use AI in schools, but also how we're going to use it. I feel especially when I went through year 12, I honestly did use AI a lot. I thought it was really good for research, finding up to date, and also if you check the source, obviously things that can be really reliable and helpful and things you wouldn't often find on Google if you just went to go find it yourself. But I think also there can be times where you might start to over rely on it, particularly if you haven't been taught how to use it properly, or there haven't been strict, I guess, education classes or times where we really talk about how we're going to use AI so it enhances rather than replaces our skills. And so I think we could do with just a bigger focus in curriculums on how to make sure we use AI to actually improve what we do.
Do you think there was a big difference in the way you approach your assignments before ChatGPT and AI was kind of very prevalent versus after?
I honestly do think yes. It did definitely change, particularly how I would start an assignment and how I'd be working through it. Not so much maybe the end parts. I found normally I'd still be able to edit myself, but I think before chat, like year 10, year 11, I would often have a pretty significant part where I was just planning myself, and that would often take me a lot of time. Whereas in year 12, I started to become aware of chat a lot more, and I think the biggest difference was that I'd be using it a lot to help me find relevant sources. I'd be using it to help me not necessarily structure, but think of good points as well for things like, health and well-being. And so I think in a way it did kind of do I don't want to say it did the thinking for me, but it definitely gave me extra ideas. And so going back to the previous question, I guess it's just something that we need to be aware of, making sure we don't use it to think for us. And yeah, I think it's something we should definitely be working on.
And what's the most interesting question or concept that you studied for but were never assessed on?
This takes me back to year 11, honestly. I was doing stage 2 bio in year 11, and one of the most interesting things we learned about was like DNA sequencing and like DNA editing. I remember we spent actually like so much time on this. We had like such a fat booklet of notes about just this one topic, and we spent, so many weeks in class on this. But then in the exam, we didn't get asked about it at all. And then when we came out of the chapel, we were all like, where was the DNA editing? Because we spent so much time learning this stuff. It was actually at times very difficult to understand. So I was like, what did I put in all that time in for? But I feel like, it is just useful to learn about anyway, because obviously you get that experience like practicing, revising, but it is also just so interesting to learn about because those sorts of technologies you learn about in that unit, like you can actually use it to improve so many people's lives. Like CRISPR, for example, is something we can learn about, and that can actually go and edit things. I'm not sure if this is exactly correct, but like it can help improve people who have HIV, their experience. And so I think it is something really interesting to learn about, and just when you understand it, it can help you really understand when you're looking at things like news. And I think it's something really fascinating to see how it progresses.
I think we had the same thing. We were told that biotechnology was going to be in our exam, and there was nothing on it.
Yeah,
and
it's so
revised.
weird. Yeah.
Okay, what is some advice you could give your younger self, and what advice would you ignore?
To my younger self, I think there would be two main things that I'd want to tell her about. I think the first one is that, hard work does pay off. I feel like I kind of talk about this a lot, but like it does really work. At times it can feel like, oh my God, like why am I staying up so late revising? Like I don't want to do this work. I want to go to bed. I don't want to listen to YouTube. Watch YouTube. But like you just have to remind yourself, if you put in that work, as long as you've got balance, achieving goals that are, big, they can take time. And I think it's important to just remind yourself that even though it can take a while and you might feel that struggle, if you can stick through it and you can have that determination, it does pay off, and I do think it's worth it. And I think the other thing I'd want to tell her about, I guess, is like it is important to be authentically yourself. I feel like particularly through maybe middle school, that was something I struggled with a little bit. But I've realised over time, getting older, reflecting more, that when you are yourself, you're true to your values and who you feel most comfortable around, that is going to bring you the most happiness, because you'll be around people who you feel the safest with. You'll have experiences that are most meaningful and most enjoyable for you. And yeah, I think you'll get the most out of that. In terms of things that I wouldn't listen as much to, it's not necessarily that I would abandon this entire piece of advice, because I do understand like the intention behind it. But it's when people tell you that good things come to those who wait. Like I do agree with the fact that it's important when you're going for goals, like you do need to be patient at times. Things aren't always going to go smoothly. But I also think a big part of achieving success or getting to where you want to go is being able to put in that work and that effort. And so if I was to adjust that in any way, it would be more like good things come with patience, but also to people who are consistent and perseverant with it.
Do you think that when people get into year 12, especially in senior years, they start to become themselves more and more comfortable with being themselves around their peers?
I do definitely think it is something that comes with that maturity, because as you grow older, you have more experiences that you don't like, and you have time to think about why did that not make me feel good? Or why did I feel frustrated or upset with that? And so I think that maturity and just those life experiences definitely help as well. But I think part of it is also actively trying to put in that effort. I think making sure that you actually take that time to reflect and maybe talk to people as well about it. I think that experience, but also, putting in the work and the effort, I think definitely helps.
Okay, final question is to do with your music. What is your favourite song that you've written so far and why?
This is such a great question because I feel like I don't know if that many people are like aware of the songwriting I do. At the moment, it's not like a thing I do like professionally or anything. I kind of just do it as a hobby. But I have written some things in the past. I did do like an album. I haven't put it out anywhere, but I did that I think a couple years ago. But my favourite song at the moment would have to be like, it's currently the only single I have out on Spotify, but it's called Skin. I really like that for two reasons. I think firstly the writing, but also the production. I think in terms of the writing, I like how it's all centered around like a metaphor. The fact that I guess you're singing about how to shed a skin, you're essentially talking about like, how do I change or get rid of something I don't like about myself, but that is actually who I am and it's like natural to me. And I guess the whole song is about like trying to come to acceptance about something you have that you can't change about yourself, that you're currently not super happy with. And I guess I also like just how thought-provoking it is. I think having metaphors throughout allows it, it's not vague, but it allows it to be applicable to any sort of person and any sort of thing they don't like about themselves. So I feel like a lot of people would also be able to hopefully relate to it in that way. And I also just like the production. I think with that song, I tried to channel like a bit of the Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan kind of synthy sort of style. And I really like how ambient and like reflective it makes it sound as well. So yeah.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Skin on Spotify by Charlotte Chung.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, to wrap up, I'm going to give you a rule that I always live by, and that is to always ask. Now, when I say always ask, I mean like if you want something, you have to ask for it. An example of when this worked is I was planning my suit for formal, and I really wanted this Prada tie, but I looked at the Prada website and it was $610, so it was a bit steep. But I thought to myself, if I get a cheaper suit and then I go to mum on a good day, she's had a great day at work, I'll give her a glass of soda water and I'll go, hey mum, here's the link to this tie that I want, can I please have it? It might work. So I gave it a shot. I got her signature glass, ice halfway, soda water with a bit of lime cordial. I know she loves that. Brought it into her dressing room. Mum, here's the link to the Prada tie. Is there any chance I could get this for formal? This is how she replied. Oh, that'll look so good. Yes, definitely. I'll order it now. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now I'm in a double-breasted suit for formal with a Prada tie and the logo smack bang right there. I'm over the moon. It's incredible. So always remember, just always ask for something because you'll never know if you get it or not. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Scotch Podcast. I'm your host, Seb Cox. This is Donnie, and we're checking out. Thank you very much.